Donald Trump just got bad news where he least expected it, in the state of Florida. You heard me right. Check out this new general election poll that was released on Tuesday by Bullfinch, showing Donald Trump just 1 point ahead of Vice President Kamala Harris in the Sunshine State. This is big news, folks, and it follows various trends and enthusiasm and levels of energy that we have seen shift since Vice President Kamala Harris has entered the race. Note in this same poll, Vice President Harris leads by 2 in North Carolina, and leads by 2 in the state of Georgia. In the Florida Senate race, Rick Scott leads by 2 over Democrat Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, another close race within the margin of error. I'm going to go into all the details of everything that is happening on the ground in Florida right now. First, my name is Brett Meiselas with the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, and we cannot do it without you. That's not the only poll that came out this week with Florida that shows a dead heat race. We saw the morning consult poll show Donald Trump just up 2 over Kamala Harris, 49% to 47%. This after Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican Party, went on MSNBC and made this stunning prediction. Watch.
She could create a different coalition, one that was more than just a combination of Obama and Biden, meaning 08 and 20, but even adding in new elements, because what has happened transformationally in terms of issues is Dobbs. Abortion is now in play. What that does is it draws in center-right voters who would otherwise be aligned with the Republican Party, now falling away because of the heavy-handed nature in which Republicans want to control women's bodies and take away their rights, and that does not sit well either. So this coalition that's being created right now by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is not just one to watch, but it's going to be one that the history books will study when I think she takes this thing to victory. Florida and North Carolina will fall, along with Georgia. So there you are.
Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, you are on record, Chairman Steele.
And Michael Steele is certainly not alone here. We see Miami-Dade Democrats making the case that Florida is in play. We see Jamie Harrison saying, quote, "Don't sleep on Florida. Don't sleep on Florida. Something special is going on in the state," says Jamie Harrison, and I think it's going to shock the world. I think it's going to shock the nation, and I know it's going to give Republicans a shock. This as Vice President Kamala Harris leads nationally in the polls by 5 in the morning consult poll, by 6 and 7 in some other polls. You see this race starting to take shape with Kamala Harris with leads in that sort of range. And I just want to sort of set the stage for a second. This is not an easy state to win. I don't want to pretend it is, but I want to show you how close these last few presidential elections have been in the state, because I think it's easy to forget with all the Ron DeSantis stuff that we see and with the propaganda that is pumped out into the airwaves every single day. In the 2020 election, President Biden lost Florida 51.22% to 47.86%, a very close race. In 2016, we saw Hillary Clinton lose to Donald Trump 49.02% to 47.82%. Meanwhile, in 2012, President Barack Obama won the state of Florida with 50.01% to Mitt Romney's 49.13%. And I say that to show you that with the right level of enthusiasm and voter turnout, Democrats can win in the state of Florida and democracy can prevail over Donald Trump. And people are starting to take notice as well in the corporate media. The Associated Press wrote this story, quote, "Democrats are becoming a force in the traditionally conservative The Villages." A rapid response director for the Kamala Harris campaign, Jackson Peele, wrote, "I've been in The Villages several times since Kamala joined the race, and the energy there is wild. Something is happening in Florida." And I'll show you this one clip. Remember, this was from a few months ago in Florida. Check out this energy in The Villages for Vice President Harris. Watch. And now I want to read you that article in the Associated Press. Democrats are becoming a force in traditionally conservative The Villages. They state, The Villages, one of the world's largest retirement communities, has long been known as a conservative stronghold. In the past, left-leaning residents of the Central Florida enclave tended to keep their views to themselves, fearing they might get kicked out of their golf group or excluded from Mahjong club or disinvited from a neighborhood pool party. But Vice President Kamala Harris's emergence as the Democratic Party's presidential candidate has given the small but enthusiastic group a boost of confidence and a push into the light. Quote, they are beginning to realize that they have a voice and they can use it, said Diane Foley, president of the Villages Democratic Club, which has seen its membership nearly double since the 2020 election cycle to around 1,500 people. Prior to that time, she noted, quote, Democrats have been inclined to be quiet and to not broadcast their political preferences because we were so overwhelmed by the Republican Party. Parades of golf carts decorated in support of Harris have rolled through the streets, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff recently paid a visit. Meanwhile, Democrats opting to wear a t-shirt or put up a lawn sign in favor of Harris have had neighbors approach them with relief, saying, quote, we thought we were the only ones. Quote, we made some common cause with the Democrats, even though I don't share a lot of Kamala's ideas on things, says Underwood, who is now not affiliated with either major party, but has volunteered with the Democrats Club to support Harris. Underwood won't go as far as to put a bumper sticker on her car for fear of blowback, but he acknowledges that the political atmosphere is changing, however, slightly. Quote, Democrats in the Villages has become kind of a thing, he said with a laugh. Here's from This Week in the Villages to show you that this momentum is real and is keeping up. We see over 100 people in the Villages in this photo writing postcards to help get out the vote for Vice President Harris. And this level of enthusiasm and door knocking and the get out the vote efforts on the ground really speak volumes. And I think, like they said in that article, sometimes people just need to know that there are other people around them like them who are unafraid to speak out in order for them to get out there and get involved. We see this picture posted by Mitch Emerson, who says, all across Florida, we are seeing huge numbers of volunteers showing up to knock doors and make phone calls for Kamala. Some photos from Gainesville, Palmetto Bay, Orlando, and a phone bank in Delray Beach. And you could see the photos of all the volunteers with the Harris Walls sign below. This Carol Molinares says, you would have thought this was a weekend of action, but nope, this is every day across the state of Florida. Voters are fired up and showing up to take back Florida. Let's play this video of some volunteers.
Back. We're not going 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 back. We're not.
All right, are you ready for this fact? Traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. It can lead to acne, allergies, and stuffy noses. It's just gross. Miracle Made, however, offers a whole line of self-cleaning antibacterial bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry. It's why I use Miracle Made on my bedding. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather, so you get a better sleep every single night. It's why I love Miracle Sheets. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to trymiracle.com/Meidas. Try miracle.com/Meidas and try Miracle Made Sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save up to 40%. And if you use our promo code Meidas at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
And you could see more photos here posted by Mitch Emerson saying today all across Florida, the Kamala team are knocking on doors. Here are some photos from canvas launches in St. Cloud, Gainesville, Sarasota, and Miramar. This is also big news that came out of Florida this week. Every single Teamsters union in Florida came out to support Kamala Harris for president. While the national Teamsters may not be taking a stance, the local chapters are speaking out, with a half-dozen unions issuing endorsements, including Teamsters Local 79 Southwest in Florida, Teamsters Local 173, Local 385, Local 512, Local 769, and Local 947. Here was a letter written by Teamsters Joint Council number 75 in North Miami, Florida. They said, quote, "The Executive Board of Teamsters Joint Council 75 is proud to announce our endorsement of the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz ticket for President and Vice President of the United States. Joint Council 75 represents 10 local unions across Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. The candidate's strong track records on workers' rights and advocacy stands in clear contrast to that of the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. As the election draws near, we believe it important to share our perspective on which candidate truly stands up for all workers, especially union members. The record is clear, whether it's backing funding for union members and retirees' pensions, ensuring a strong pro-worker, pro-union National Labor Board, or supporting the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, the PRO Act, the Harris-Walz ticket is the best choice for organized labor. The potential implementation of Project 2025 or Agenda 47 would be a disaster for all workers, particularly union members. For these reasons and many others too numerous to list, we strongly encourage your support for the Harris-Walz ticket in the upcoming presidential election." And I think workers are, in addition to seeing the support from the Biden-Harris administration and all the things listed in that letter, are seeing results. Here's a graph that shows the manufacturing investment boom under the Biden-Harris administration, and you see it spiking right there as a result of the Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. But that's not all. More than 400 economists this week, former White House advisors, have endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, warning against Donald Trump's policy agenda, saying, quote, "The choice in this election is clear. It is a choice between inequality, economic injustice, and uncertainty with Donald Trump, or prosperity, opportunity, and stability with Vice President Kamala Harris." Vice President Kamala Harris was on the campaign trail, and she was making her case about her support by economists and talking about her economic plans and the fact that Donald Trump wants to cut Social Security and Medicare, all big issues in the state of Florida. Watch.
But Donald Trump, well, he has a different plan. Just Google Project 2025. It is a detailed and dangerous blueprint for what he will do if he is elected president. Donald Trump will give billionaires and big corporations massive tax cuts and cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. He will add more than $5 trillion to the national debt. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. And he wants to impose what is, in effect, a national sales tax. I call it a Trump sales tax, because it will be a tax on everyday basic necessities, which the economists have measured will cost the average family nearly $4,000 more a year. And the top economists, they've previewed our plans. They've reviewed them. Goldman Sachs says my plan would grow our economy, and his plan would shrink it. Sixteen Nobel Prize-winning economists say he would reignite inflation, and Moody's says he would ignite a recession by the middle of next year. You know, he talks a big talk, but when folks review the numbers, highly respected folks, that's what you learn about him.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has been driving away key factions of voters in the state of Florida, such as the Haitian community, with his lies about Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. The Miami Herald writes, "Big mistake. South Florida Haitians slammed Trump's false claim about immigrants eating pets." Debbie Mirkesell-Powell, who's running for Senate, the Democrat, against Rick Scott in Florida, said that the more than 500,000 Haitians living in Florida can sway who is elected in November, and was speaking about their voting power. Here's an image of the Haitians in Florida speaking out against Donald Trump. This could have been another fatal mistake by Donald Trump for his presidential election chances. Just pure, unadulterated racism. Latinos in Florida are also showing up for Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz. We could play this video right now. This is a TikTok that is going viral of Latinos supporting Kamala Harris. It has a lot of music in it that we cannot play on this broadcast, but you could see the enthusiasm out there on the streets in Florida. This is Debbie Mirkesell-Powell. She was on MSNBC recently, and she was speaking about her fight against Rick Scott for the Senate. This is a very close race within the margin of error, and Mirkesell-Powell was saying how Floridians want someone fighting for them, not against them. Listen to her.
Rick Scott has been now avoiding me. As you saw, we are tied in the polls. Actually, there was another poll that came out last week, which has me just a point below. Florida's in play. It's something that I've been saying for quite some time. You heard those voters. They all, for them, one of the top issues in this race is making sure that they protect a woman's right to choose. And the choice is clear in this election. People will see clearly the contrast between me and Rick Scott, someone that supports the 6-week abortion ban. But I can't do this alone. And I've been saying this for quite some time. And I need everyone watching to go to my website, Debbie for Florida, support my race. We are within the margin of error, and we just started communicating. Look, Floridians want someone that's going to be fighting for them and not against them. And I think that that's what you're seeing, that energy on the ground of everyone making sure that we bring the change that is needed in this country.
And what we're seeing in Florida is very similar to what we're seeing in the various battleground states throughout the country. We are seeing people who previously voted for Donald Trump who are now repulsed by him. We are seeing people who maybe used to not know so much about Vice President Kamala Harris grow to like her the more they get to know her. It's the complete opposite of what is happening with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. So I want to show you some of these voters in Wisconsin for a second, because I think this shows a bit where the temperature of the country is right now. Here's a Wisconsin voter saying that she voted for Trump before, but that she could never vote for him again. Watch.
I will never vote for a convicted felon for president of the United States.
Conservative Mark Gagnon says instead of Trump, he's picking the Harris-Walz ticket.
I voted for him the first time he ran. I was gravely disappointed. I think we need younger people. I mean, what's an 80-year-old person know what a 30-year-old family needs?
And here's another voter in Wisconsin saying that she now thinks much more highly of Kamala Harris than Donald Trump. And the more she gets to know Vice President Harris, the more that she likes her. Watch this.
Your opinion of Kamala Harris changed?
Mine has changed favorably because I was very negative about it. I just think she was like a nobody, didn't even know who she was. And she's done a reasonably good job of marketing.
I am surprised at how strong she is. I honestly kind of didn't know she was there for a few years because I didn't feel like she did a whole lot. I'd much rather have her than to be frightened of having Trump in the office for another 4 years.
I like her positive attitude that we're going to go forward. We're not going to go backwards.
I definitely have come to the conclusion that she's capable. I mean, and she's proved that in the debate, and she's proved that since then.
So something is happening around the country, folks, and Florida is indicative of that energy. It is certainly not going to be easy, and we must never get complacent, whether it's Florida or Michigan or heck, even blue states. Everybody needs to be fighting right now as if this is the most important election of your life, because it absolutely is. Get involved in our democracy. You could be a major part in saving our democracy. Make sure you are registered to vote at vote.org. Make sure your friends and family are registered to vote, especially if they live in any of these battleground states. Every day is going to be so important, and it's all going to come down to turnout. But this energy we are seeing on the ground is absolutely encouraging, and we'd love to see it, especially in Florida. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Help us get to 3.5 million subscribers here on YouTube. Go ahead right now if you can and add the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you listen to audio podcasts. It really helps us a ton. And leave a 5-star review, by the way. Hit the like button. You could comment on this video. All of that helps. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.